Welcome to another team selection video ahead of Double Gameweek 34. I'm going to recap on how Gameweek 33 is going so far. There's still a long way to go. And then looking ahead to Gameweek 34 and my transfer plans, which involve Chelsea players. Am I going to double up or maybe triple up on the Blues? Let's get straight into this. In Double Gameweek 33, I've scored 70 points so far. There's still plenty of games yet to be played. But that Liverpool versus Manchester United fixture yesterday completely changed my fortunes. And the captaincy is so crucial. Last week I had on Heung-min Son and that enabled me to get a decent rank rise in the end, and then we're looking at Mohamed Salah this week, and I've pretty much essentially halved my rank from around 50k to 28k at the moment. I would expect it to drop, and there's also a lot of managers around me who still have plenty of chips yet to be played. I only have my free hit, which I'm looking to use in 37, although 34 isn't actually a bad time to use it either. Double clean sheet obviously for my Liverpool fullbacks against United, Robertson and Trent. No attacking returns for them, but you can't really complain when you get so many points from that fixture. Ramsdale once again a complete disappointment. He's been awful for the last 6 to 8 game weeks. Arsenal have just dipped tremendously. Tomiyasu is now back in training. He might not be rushed back against Chelsea, but you wouldn't be too surprised if he featured against Manchester United. I think that could help Arsenal quite a lot. But I'm not going to buy into this that Arsenal are suddenly going to start winning every single game. They're still going to struggle a lot, and they're missing Partey and Tierney dearly, although there is images of Partey training, and there is a possibility, although it's very slim, that Partey can feature before the end of the season. With Tierney ruled out indefinitely, if Partey and Tomiyasu are fit for the remainder of the campaign and they can get back as soon as possible, then I would say Arsenal have a decent chance of winning some football matches, scoring goals and being solid defensively, and therefore I would be happy to keep Ramsdale and Saka. But as things stand, I just think that selling all Arsenal assets is actually a viable option, as I discussed in yesterday's transfer tips video. If you haven't already checked that out, Fabian Schär, my new signing, 2 points so far, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a return, whether it's attacking or a clean sheet against Crystal Palace, although you would probably expect another blank there instead. I decided to save my second transfer so I could have 2 transfers heading into Double Gameweek 34, more flexibility to get the likes of Pukki, Cancelo, more Chelsea defenders or players, so therefore I'm pretty happy with my decision overall. Maddison could still do very well in the second game against Everton away, but I was always very concerned about Leicester players and their rotation, and unfortunately for those who got in the likes of Barnes and Maddison, it has been very frustrating so far. Schmeichel's the only one who is nailed, and that's why on a wildcard he's the only Leicester player that will be completely nailed on that wildcard. Saka, another blank, he should have scored. He had a very good chance. It forced a good save out of Forster, but honestly Saka should be scoring that. Salah, as we just discussed, has been basically the difference maker. Heung-min Son blanked, and I am surprised about Spurs not scoring against Brighton. I thought that the Seagulls could make things difficult as they did against the North London rivals, Arsenal, but yeah, Heung-min Son and Kane were complete disappointments. I'm just happy that Son got a clean sheet point and came off before Spurs lost that clean sheet, and in the end he outscored Kane by 1 point, but that's pretty much the only saving grace from that game. Kulusevski was very lucky to still be on the pitch, 2-pointer, and honestly it could have been much worse than that. And then Broja and Adams, you look at Broja, he got a yellow card against Arsenal. He had a few good moments where he could have scored or got an assist. As for Adams though, didn't play a single minute. I would expect him to feature against Burnley, and that would prevent Reece James from coming on, and honestly I would rather have Reece James for that game against Arsenal than Adams away to Burnley. And finally, my second highest scoring player this week, Weghorst. He was the star before Salah took things over, but Weghorst with a goal, 3 bonus points and his customary yellow card, but still very happy with that return. He didn't really do too much else other than that, so I'm not going to suddenly think Weghorst is a great option. He's still pretty poor, especially in terms of the underlying numbers. I don't trust Burnley's attack, but I don't think he's a priority sell as he probably was looking like a week or 2 ago. And honestly, if Che Adams is going to be in and out of the side when Southampton switch to a back 5, I'd be more willing to part with Che Adams, who is 0.5 million more expensive than Weghorst, and I can go to someone like Timo Pukki. I'll be discussing my transfer plans very shortly, but before that I'm going to talk about my team before I make any transfers. Reece James is just on my bench, Doherty's out for the rest of the season, and Rafinha obviously blanked in Gameweek 33. The same goes for Jose Sarr. So overall, I'd say it's a pretty good week for me so far, and it's pretty much down to Mohamed Salah. My lineup in Gameweek 34 isn't looking too bad without any transfers, but I don't have any United players for their double, although do you really want to get their assets at this moment in time? Probably not, and I've just basically avoided all of them for a very long time, and I'm happy with that decision, but I would like to get 1 or 2 more Chelsea players. I've got Jose Sarr in goal away to Burnley. over the likes of Ramsdale, but then I've also got Weghorst in the starting 11. That could easily be Broja or Adams, but I'm just not too sure who's going to start, especially in the case of Adams, who was just benched. We'll know more in the second game of Double Gameweek 33 against Burnley, and maybe after that I can make a decision in terms of my forward line, but ideally I would want Timo Pukki. The other strikers that I really want, but unfortunately I won't be able to get probably, are Ivan Toney and Harry Kane. But I also have to think practically about Double Gameweek 36 and also my plans for Chelsea players this week and in the long term. So ultimately, I think in the forward line, Timo Pukki is the most realistic and obtainable player out of the lot. But Jose Sa and Weghorst kind of clash. Hopefully one of them would produce. If I ended up sticking with these players, hopefully one of them produces. And if both of them get a return somehow, that would be amazing, but very unlikely. Cher is in there against Norwich away, and I probably would start him over most of my forwards. And honestly, I'd be very happy to play a 4-5-1 or maybe a 5-4-1 formation for the rest of the season and kind of ditch the forwards completely with the form that they've shown and the sheer inconsistency. Double Liverpool defence at home to Everton, that's pretty good. And also Salah, who once again, I have to say is probably the best single game week option of the lot. But when you're bringing in the likes of Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, Reece James, maybe you can consider captaining them. And ultimately, even if I don't bring in Mason Mount or any of these Chelsea players, I would consider a Reece James captaincy. But the fact that he's playing as a right centre-back, especially against teams with tricky and pacey wingers, that would put me off very, very dearly. And ultimately, I don't think Reece James's attacking potential will be as high as it would have been at the beginning of this season. Saka at home to Man United, I think he could actually drop to the bench once I make my transfers. But ultimately, I wouldn't mind starting him, especially with the form that United are in. And if I do bench him in the end, maybe a few nerves there because I could be benching some good points. Then we have Son and Kulusevski away to Brentford. And ultimately, I look at this and I think it's a pretty good fixture. Despite Brentford's good form, I would expect Spurs to bounce back. They might drop points, they might concede a few goals, but I would ultimately back their attackers to get some returns, and I'm very happy with Son and Kulusevski despite their blank. And then Rafinha away to Crystal Palace. I actually wouldn't mind keeping him for this fixture, but he then plays Man City in 35 and a very difficult double in 36, at least on paper. So actually looking at these midfielders, you could argue Saka is the one that should go or Kulusevski, but I'm looking at Rafinha to possibly make way for a Chelsea midfielder. The forwards, once again, any of them could make way for Timo Pukki. It would make more sense in my case for Weghorst or Che Adams to make way. So that's how my team is lining up at the moment. There's a few things that could change. Maybe I end up going for Ramsdale instead of Sa if some, Arsenal players come back, but I don't expect Partey to be back at the weekend for sure, even if he does return before the end of the season. Tomiyasu could feature, but ultimately I think most of this would stay the same before the transfers are made. Let me show you my transfer plans on FPL.team. I'd highly recommend you do the same, and let's also show you this and let me know what you think. Just like last week, I'm going to show you two different transfer plans, so let me know if you prefer this first draft that I'm going to be showing you, where I triple up on Chelsea and I take a -4, or the second one. I'll talk about it more as we progress, but what you can see here is Antonio Rudiger coming in for Matt Doherty, Mason Mount coming in for Rafinha, but I would need an additional transfer to fund that move. And what would I do? Either get rid of Weghorst or Che Adams for Gelhardt. This would be for a -4 hit, and then I would line up once again with Fabian Schär, Trent, Robertson, Reece James with Jose Sa in goal, and then Rudiger, and go to a back five. Once again, Salah, Son, Kulusevski and Mason Mount, who would then be my captain potentially, although I am also considering Mohamed Salah, even over the likes of Mason Mount. Let me know down in the comment section, who are you going to be captaining? Mohamed Salah, maybe Harry Kane, a Chelsea player, and if so, which one will it be? I'm guessing Mason Mount will be the most popular captaincy choice this week, alongside Mohamed Salah, and I'll probably put a poll out on the channel and also in future streams. The only possible issue with this team, with this -4 hit included, is that Weghorst would still be starting, and ideally I would actually have Saka over Weghorst if I'm being completely honest, but you have to have one forward, of course. You need a valid formation, so I'm not able to do that. If I wanted Saka in my team, it would have to be at the expense of maybe Fabian Schär, for example, and I'm not sure if that's the right call. It would be quite tough. I think Schär is more likely to get 6 points, but Saka's ceiling is arguably even higher. I would also have Ramsdale there sitting on the bench, as well as Broja and Gelhardt. So this team doesn't look too bad actually. But now let me show you the other possibility where I don't take a hit and instead I do 2 free transfers, but at the same time I would not have triple Chelsea and instead settle with 2. This would be going back to the 4-5-1 formation I have currently, and obviously if I get the Chelsea players that would then turn into a 5-4-1. But once again, Robertson, James, Trent and Schär would be at the back with Jose Sa in goal. But I would be getting Mason Mount in for Rafinha. I gain an extra fixture there, and I also improve my forward line and I get Timo Pukki. Now, the main reason why I like this set of transfers, possibly even more than the first with the -4 and triple Chelsea, is because when you look at Double Gameweek 36, I'm not looking to use a chip there because I already have plenty of doublers. What I would then gain is a Double Gameweek striker and also a forward that is showing good form as opposed to Weghorst, Broja and Adams, who have been blanking quite consistently. So I would kind of fix, in a way, my forward issues, but at the same time I would still have a pretty good team overall for Double Gameweek 36. I also don't take a hit and I'm still looking good for Double Gameweek 34. So at the moment I am leaning more towards these two free transfers, getting Timo Pukki in for Che Adams, and then I would get Mason Mount for Rafinha. Let me know what you think and what you prefer, but you also have to look at Double Gameweek 36. If we show you the other example here with the -4 hit, I would have to start Weghorst, Gelhardt or Broja up front, which to be honest, I'm not really a big fan of. I can always bring Pukki in later on anyway. It's not like I'm committing to going without Timo Pukki for the rest of the season, but I'll be sorting my issues even earlier, and in Double Gameweek 34, I think Pukki will probably outscore all of the strikers that I currently have. So that's something that I need to think about. Either way, it's not a huge difference, but these little decisions, these 50-50 calls, can go a long way. There is this thing called variance, which has been rife in FPL all season, and sometimes I've been on the receiving end of some very bad calls and I've lost out on 20-30 points as a result, and sometimes I've actually gained from it. For example, in Double Gameweek 33, my original plan was to get Maddison and captain him. Imagine if I did so over the likes of Salah, who ended up getting 19 points. And of course, Maddison can still go on to get a really huge haul, but you never know in football and in FPL, and sometimes these 50-50 calls can cost you. Just like we did last week, I'm going to show you both of the drafts side by side, the different transfer plans, just so you can visualize and compare them. Like I already said, I want to get Timo Pukki in one way or another, whether it's in Double Gameweek 34, maybe the next week, or in Double Gameweek 36. But ultimately, I think that needs to happen, and that could possibly solve my striker issues one way or another. But I really like the Double Gameweek that Chelsea have in Gameweek 36. If you go to it in Double Gameweek 36, Wolves at home and Leeds away. Despite Leeds' improvement, and they could score a goal or two against Chelsea, I would still really back Chelsea and their assets in that Double Gameweek, and I think that could be a really good move. I can still get Timo Pukki in for Weghorst or maybe Broja, so that is something I need to think about. Maybe I can be more aggressive in Double Gameweek 34 and then pull off that triple Chelsea in 34, and then ultimately going forward I can always bring Pukki later on. Let me know what you think. I'd be very curious to see your thoughts, and who are you going to be captaining, like I already asked before. I'd be very curious to know. I'm going to put polls out, I'm going to put more videos and streams so you can let me know your thoughts and your opinions. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and also there's a Discord server in the description below. Check that out, and you can also become a Patreon or a channel member to support the channel even further. It'd be much appreciated. So take care, enjoy the football, good luck with the rest of Double Gameweek 33 and 34, which is yet to come, and I'll see you next time.